Hello, welcome back to the Fix It Frank 412 YouTube channel. Today we're going to be working on the 2014 Ford Raptor. We're going to be doing the transmission fluid. So, parts for today, most importantly, Mercon LV transmission fluid. There's 5 quarts in here. I have a 6 quart if needed. I think I'm going to probably need about 4 of those. Got the new gasket, Fel-Pro TOS 18753. They said you can reuse the old one. I'm going to probably see how that one looks, but I'm probably going to replace that. Have the new Ford Motorcraft transmission filter, FT188. I also have these 2 filters that were also listed. I'm thinking these are more internal and won't be able to be replaced. That one's really tiny, and this one's a little bit bigger. But this is FT138 and FT161. So I'm going to see about those. This main one will definitely be getting changed. Again, the fluid. And then I'm also going to be doing the upgrade of the Dorman transmission pan that has the drain plug. So that way in the future it'll be easier to drain the fluid out. This is Dorman part 265-854. So we're going to be doing that as well. We're going to be using this time, since we don't have a drain plug and I don't want to take a bath in transmission fluid, we're using a Holt Industries pneumatic fluid extractor that I picked up from Harbor Freight. So I got the air hose out and we have that here, kind of already got that set up. So things we're going to be needing an 8mm for the transmission pan bolts, and we're going to be needing a 19mm to take the cover off of where the dipstick tube is underneath. So let me go grab those things and we'll pick up underneath the vehicle. Before we get started, let's safety first. We're going to put the emergency brake on just to make sure that the vehicle doesn't try to move while we're doing this. Put that on. Okay, and then I've gotten my wrench. We're going to meet underneath the vehicle here now and discuss real quick how we're going to do this. So, the bolt for the, we're going to crawl under. I'm going to go under here from the passenger side. And there's your transmission pan. Now the filler is going to be up here, where it's very hard to reach, and it's next to the catalytic converter. So I decided I'm going to drain this fluid. A lot of people will say warm up the vehicle and then drain the fluid. That's going to be a lot easier to do with the new pan once we have the drain plug. So with this catalytic converter being right in the way, it's going to be very difficult to get up there and get that dipstick tube out and then suction the liquid out with it being hot. So I'm going to do it cold, but then when we're done, I'm going to fill it back to where it was cold, but then we will check it hot once we're all completed. So I'm going to go ahead and set you down for a moment. I'm going to go up here with my 19mm. I'm going to see if this will work. I'm going to take the cap off of the fill tube. Okay, I went ahead and we popped, I'm going to pin you over here, pop the little cap off. Again, 19mm. I kind of had to get the wrench up in here and pull down. And then, as some people had mentioned that I had read, you will get, if you're doing this cold especially, you will get some kind of, there's like a pressure that there's kind of built up in here. So I did get a little bit of a dribble down. So this is your little dipstick tube. I am going to wipe that off, try to get it back in here and just get a good cold reading. It should be, I'm thinking from what I've seen, at the low end of the range. So let's do that here real quick. I'm going to wipe that off, get it back up in there and get a good reading. We'll show you where it's at before we get started with the fluid extractor. Well, this could be another negative to doing it cold. Again, kind of just trying something here, but it looks like it's pretty much all the way up the tube, which isn't a bad thing because we can fill it back to where it's not dripping out of here, but where I can feel it. So I'm going to just quick set this tube down, and I'm going to just see if my finger up in here, if I can kind of get some transmission fluid on it. Okay, I'm going to set you guys down. This will be easier for me to do. I'm just going to try to see if I can feel in there where the fluid's at. Because we want to try to get it back to that point when it's cold at least before we go ahead and warm it up. I actually thought of a better way to do this. So what I did was I wiped the stick off and then I stuck the stick in to the point, just stuck it in a little further, a little further, a little further until, in my case, it got here between about the N and the U was where it was at, flush with this, and it just started to get some fluid on it at that point. So I'm going to kind of use that as a judge, but I'm also using the fluid extractor for that reason, to see how much fluid we get out of here. I'm going to drain what we can with the extractor, and then when we get the pan off, I'll try to dump that into the extractor as well. That way we have a good idea of what we took out, so we know we need to at least put that much back in. I'm going to come back with you here once we get the fluid extractor running. Okay, got the extractor tube installed and we got it running over here. So we're gonna wait until that fills up. So I'm gonna hang on under here until the tube starts pulling clear, move it around a little bit, make sure we got as much out of there as possible. Then we'll take the pan off. Okay, we sucked out, you can see over there, we sucked out probably 2 to 3 quarts, hoping that's enough that this won't make a complete mess. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21 bolts holding this up if I counted correctly. All of them are easy to get to from here forward, except for these 4 here in the back. Those I had to come up from this end behind the exhaust pipe with like a twisty on my extension with a short 8mm, and it got them started. I'm probably gonna actually grab a box wrench to some of these that I started, I think once I start them a little bit more, they're gonna be finger loose. They're only 10 foot-pounds torque at the end, so I'm gonna go ahead and get these all a little looser, and we'll get this pan down and see what we got. Well, it must not have extracted as much as I thought, because we got all but 4 bolts out. Started taking these front 2 bolts out to try to let the front down first, and then I loosened this back one, and now it's leaking the fluid all out the back, which is fine. I have the drip pan here, so I'm gonna let it drip for a little bit, slowly unloosen that, let as much as I can out of there. Again, just trying to keep as much out of this, hopefully keep the pan as little fluid as possible as I'm taking it off of here. More to come. Success. So what I ended up doing was taking this back bolt almost all the way out. It was still draining as much as it could out the back. I loosened this one up as much as I could, and then what I did is I took the back one out first, kind of let the pan lay on here, let more fluid come out the back, and then I held it up with this hand. Well, I took out with my left hand this last bolt over here, and then all I did was shift it just slightly back to clear these front lines, kind of down while keeping it as flat as possible, then till the back cleared the exhaust, and then I just set it down here. And you can see actually the filter came out with it. We'll have to see how that works with getting the new one put up in there. But I'm gonna go ahead and get all this slid out from underneath the vehicle, and then we'll work on getting this cleaned up. This is the gasket. I probably am gonna replace it. I don't know though, because it does look fine. And it's kind of, what's nice now is it's stuck in place. If I replace it, it's going to want to be moving around everywhere when I'm bolting everything back up. So we'll see what's going on with that. But let me let this drip kind of here. I'm going to pull the pan out and start working on cleaning that. And we'll come back. Thanks. Now that we got this out in the open, what I'm going to do here is get this out of here, try to get as much fluid out of this as possible, dump the rest of the fluid out of the pan, and then we're going to clean the magnet up, clean the pan up with just some brake clean, make sure we get all the residue out of it, and then I'm going to try to dump that fluid into the extractor just so we get a better idea on how much exactly we took out. I pulled the extraction machine over here and I sucked out what was in the pan. Then I was like thinking to myself, well, we're not using this pan again, so that's okay. But I did want to see, we can see we do have some pieces of clutch material over there. There's always going to be a little bit by the magnet, but there is some down in there too. So we got about 97,000 miles on it now, so kind of wanted to change it now. I really wanted to change it like 20,000 miles ago and just didn't get around to it, but went ahead and got the magnet all cleaned up. You can just clean it up using a rag, or I used an old shirt here, because this is going to go into the new pan. So I'm going to go get the new pan, figure out if I'm going to use that old gasket or not, and then we'll work on getting the other pan hooked up. I am going to use this extractor to suck the rest of the liquid out of here if I can't. If it's easier to do that than to dump it in here. Just going to again get an idea on how much we took out. That way we have an idea on what we're going to add. Okay, I went ahead and put the magnet in the new pan. I am going to use the new gasket, so I just set it here. I'm going to go get the old gasket off of there. I have the new filter. I did match it up with the old one before we threw it away and made sure it's the right one. It is. So it should look like that. I'm going to go under there, get the old gasket off, just take a clean rag and just kind of try to wipe where this is going to seal, just to get any dirt or imperfections off of there. And then we'll go ahead, and the next thing we'll do is install the filter and install the pan. I'm going to look real quick to see too if I can see where these are at. Again, I think these are internal. Probably end up just selling those again. I don't think there's anywhere to replace those. Okay, we're ready to install the pan and the filter. One thing we're going to do real quick here on the filter is just take a little bit of even the old transmission fluid, just put it around this gasket so it slides on easier. I'm hoping this will then stay up, and then we'll get the new pan and gasket put up, and we're going to torque all the bolts to 10 foot-pounds or 120 inch-pounds. You'll see it written both ways. I went ahead and pushed that up in there. Don't want me to put too much pressure on it, but just enough. And then this end is going to sag down a little, but right now it's hanging by itself, which is good because we're going to put the pan up, and then the pan will force it the rest of the way up. It doesn't clip onto anything back here, so it does sag a little bit, but at least got it so it's attached at the front half where you push the gasket up in. Now we're going to go ahead and slip the pan up on and start putting the bolts in. Okay, we got everything tightened, 10 foot-pounds or 120 inch-pounds. Got all the bolts tightened. I'm going to give a final kind of wipe down here, and then we're going to I got to see what I have to extract the fluid, the new fluid, to put it in here. I've seen some people make some makeshift tubing up to the engine bay. I may do that. Haven't quite decided yet, but I'm going to just do a kind of final wipe down here and figure out how we're going to put the fluid in. Okay, I put most of the fluid in here, and you can see we're rated about 6 liters, which if we look at this is going to be 4.73. And then if I have the other quart, so I actually might be a little short. I might actually have to put a little bit extra in, but we're gonna stick this full thing in for sure, probably the other quart, and then get it up to operating temperature and check it. So we're gonna put this in using just a manual pump here. So I'm gonna put this underneath the vehicle and use that and just pump it to get this in. So let's do that, see where that gets us. Hello, as you can see, different day here. Sorry I didn't wrap up that day. I was kind of fighting against the daylight. So new day here, no snow on the ground, and just wanted to kind of do a wrap-up video on the truck. So as we left off, we took about 6.3 to 6.4 quarts out based on what I had fluid extracted and then dumped in the fluid extractor. So in my mind, I took out about 6.5 quarts of fluid, counting what I lost in spills and rags and such in the process. So even though I read places people said to put like 7.5 quarts back in, I decided that 6.5 is what I wanted to get back in here and then check it hot. So what I did that day without you guys on the camera is I got about 5.5 quarts in using my manual pump underneath the vehicle, which was not fun. Less than ideal. I then took the vehicle I shifted it through all the gears, took the vehicle for about a 2-mile ride, nothing crazy, you know, just driving it, getting it through the gears, brought it back, and then I did let it sit and cool after that. After that, I again decided I needed to get another quart or so in it. So what I did was started it up, and I got a 4-foot long rubber hose, and I ran the 4-foot long rubber hose down from the engine bay. I kind of did it behind some of these hoses so that would hold it this way. And then I added a funnel up here so I could fill it. And you want to just make sure you keep it away from the exhaust manifold, so you got to get it a little bit further back. And that's going to make sure that you can fill it from up top without getting your hands burned down below. So what I did was took the cap off while it was still cold, took the dipstick out, fished the tube down and fished the tube in, and then I sat here with the vehicle in gear to warm it up to operating temperature. The reason you have to do that is you have to engage the torque converter, which you can't do if it's just in park, so it won't get quite up to temperature. So I waited till it was about 190 degrees, plus or minus a few degrees, and then I added a quart of fluid up here to get us to about 6.5, while I made sure nothing was pouring out down below, which it was not. So got that in there, capped it off. Well, I actually checked it first with the dipstick that is provided. That's very hard to do. I tried it with an oven mitt first. That didn't work well, so I kind of had to fish my fingers up in and just make sure I didn't touch the exhaust. The transmission itself is warm. I even say hot, but not hot enough where you're going to burn yourself. Checked it, made sure the fluid was good, which it was. It was about halfway in the hot, safe range. So I may do a separate video on this. I may not. One thing I did get that I haven't yet to install is the B&M transmission dipstick for the 2009 to 2014 F-150 and Raptor models. That is going to allow me to check it from the engine bay. So that dipstick is going to mount probably here up on the firewall, and then it screws in, and what you do is you compare it, you check where the fluid is at hot on the old dipstick, and then you measure it hot on the new dipstick once you have it installed, and then you mark the new dipstick, which does not come with markings on it. You mark the new dipstick with like a razor or something where the old dipstick markings would be. So I may do a separate video on that, I may not, so I figured I'd mention it here. So that's the one other thing I'm gonna do. But I got 6.5 quarts in it. The only other thing I'd say, depending on how long you waited to do this service and depending on how dirty your fluid was, you may want to drain it again and fill it again, which is going to be made easier with that pan that has a drain plug now. And if you didn't make that upgrade, you may want to still do this again, or you may want to have a mechanic do a flush service on it to get all fresh fluid in there. Mine was pretty dirty, so I'm either going to drain it and refill it again here in a couple thousand miles, or I may have the flush done. So more to come on that. I'll put something down in the comments or in the video description once I decide what I'm going to do with that. But it's been shifting well. I've put about 300 miles on it since I did all this, and it's shifting well. I'd say less hard shifting. I was having a little bit of hard shifting prior. It's done it once or twice, but it's not as hard as it was. So I think we're good. If this video was at all helpful for you, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and check out my other videos in this series for all the different fluid changes that we're going to be doing on this vehicle. Some I've already done, some I still have yet to do, but I'm going to upload them all in this video series for everyone. So again, hopefully I helped you. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.